Last night, as you were carrying forward with your criticism of Senator Sessions, you were warned multiple times by the presiding officers, by senators, that this could actually violate the rules of decorum in the Senate, but you carried forward anyways. Why did you decide to press on with your argument knowing that it could violate the rules of decorum?
Well, look, I went to the floor to debate whether or not Jeff Sessions should be the Attorney General of the United States. And what I did is I quoted from Ted Kennedy's statement, Senator Ted Kennedy's statement in the Judiciary Committee from back in 1986 when Senator Sessions was being considered to be a federal judge. And Senator Sessions, now Senator Sessions, back then was a U.S. attorney who had brought a prosecution against civil rights workers for helping elderly black citizens vote. So I read Senator Kennedy's statement. I thought that that was entirely fair game in the United States Senate, and I was warned. I thought, I don't see it, but all right. And then I turned to read Coretta Scott King's letter. As you know, she's the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King, and she wrote about Senator, then Attorney General Sessions, U.S. Attorney Sessions. She wrote about him, and I started reading her letter. And she wrote, Mr. Sessions has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens. Mitch McConnell said that I was out of line and shut me up.
But if you knew it was potentially a violation when they warned you, why not just move on?
I was moving on. I was moving on to talk about the facts of what Jeff Sessions had done when he prosecuted civil rights workers who were trying to help black citizens vote. And I thought quoting Coretta Scott King's letter to the United States Senate about that was absolutely relevant. It is a moving letter, it is a powerful letter, and it's a letter that tells us not only about our history generally, but specifically about Jeff Sessions.
But Senator, you've served with Senator Sessions for several years. Do you really believe what that letter says, that he could unfairly intimidate and disenfranchise elderly black voters?
Yes. I believe the facts show that is exactly what he did. In fact,
you think he would do that as Attorney General?
Let me read to you what she says he did.
But Senator, do you think he would do that as Attorney General?
She says he accomplished, Mr. Sessions accomplished with a federal prosecution what the local sheriffs accomplished 20 years ago with clubs and cattle prods. She also talks about in here how many elderly blacks were visited multiple times by the FBI, who then hauled them over 180 miles by bus to a grand jury in Mobile when they could more easily have testified at a grand jury 20 miles away in Selma. Those are actions. Those are facts. And from that, the conclusion that Coretta Scott King drew was based on his record. I believe his confirmation would have a devastating effect, not only on the judicial system in Alabama, but also on the progress we have made everywhere toward fulfilling my husband's dream that he envisioned over 20 years ago.
What do you make of the fact that today some Senate Democrats read from that letter,
yes,
and they submitted it for the record? They were not, Republicans did not try to cite that rule of decorum. What's your reaction to that?
I have no idea what the Republicans are up to. You should ask the Republicans about this, but I will say this part. I hope everyone reads Coretta Scott King's letter. When I was silenced, I went outside and I read it on a live feed and posted it on Facebook. I've tweeted it. I want everyone to read this letter, including the Republican senators who will be voting on his nomination tonight.
Senator, after the elections, a lot of voters want people up here to work together. Is this kind of rhetoric back and forth really what voters are looking for right now, to fight Donald Trump tooth and nail?
I don't think voters are asking us to ignore facts. I don't think voters are asking us to say, you know, we're just going to ignore what this man did to black citizens. Because it's not only with black citizens, the speech also talked about what he's done with immigrants, with women. The real question for an Attorney General of the United States is whether or not he can be trusted in those hours when you can't review what he does, can he be trusted to do two things? To stand up strongly on behalf of everyone, not just those he agrees with, but everyone. And secondly, does he have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to the President of the United States when the President issues an illegal and unconstitutional order? Those are the jobs of the Attorney General of the United States. What Coretta Scott King said is directly relevant to the first of those.
What do you say to some of your critics who think that you are doing this to help position yourself for a possible run in 2020?
I say I'm doing my job. It is my constitutional responsibility to debate Jeff Sessions as Attorney General of the United States.
Is that something, though, you're open to right now, thinking about 2020?
I am open to doing my job, and that is to debate whether or not Jeff Sessions should be Attorney General of the United States. And that's why I wanted the opportunity to read Coretta Scott King's letter. It is a powerful letter. I urge everyone to go and read it.
Did Republicans give you guys a political gift here?
You'd have to ask them.
Well, this was something that you probably would not be talking about today had they not have invoked this rule.
Look, I would be talking about it. I talk about it as much as I can. It is a powerful and moving letter, and it speaks to a moment in history in the 1960s, a moment in history in the 1980s, and a moment in history right now in 2017.
And some of the Democrats are also trying to raise money off of this. Are you okay with that, doing this? And how much money have you raised for your campaign off of this?
I have no idea. This is about trying to get people to read Coretta Scott King's letter. I really believe if all of my Republican colleagues would read the letter, there'd be some who'd say, I don't want to stand with him.
Are you okay with any of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees right now? I know you voted for Ben Carson. Why did you vote for him? Why is he different than say, Jeff Sessions?
The Secretary of Defense. I supported the Secretary of Defense. I think that General Mattis is working hard, and I hope is going to be a strong and independent voice. But let's be clear, the kind of people Donald Trump is sending our way, I mean, it's like a bad movie. Right? He's sending us a Secretary of Education who doesn't believe in public education. He's sending us an Attorney General who prosecuted civil rights workers for trying to help black citizens vote.
What about Andy Puzder?
He's sending us a Secretary of Labor, you bet, a Secretary of Labor nominee whose whole profit model was how to squeeze the lowest wage workers in America, how to get them to work off the clock, committed labor violations. It's one after another. A Secretary of Treasury.
But you were okay with Ben Carson.
Look, there are important votes coming up, and I think we got to be in there ready to fight. Donald Trump has the power to nominate. Our power is the power to advise and consent. And ultimately, if these people are okay with the Republicans, look, I get it. We may not have the votes to stop them, but we sure as heck need to make it clear to the Republicans and to the American people exactly who Donald Trump is putting in charge of our government.
Senator,
that's what this is about.
Senator, I know you have a busy schedule. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking with us. Dana, back to you.
Thanks, Manu. And Senator, before you go, I believe that you can hear me.
Senator, one question from Dana here.
Senator, if you can just hear me, I want to read to you one thing just to follow up on what Manu just said, that your colleague Senator Sanders just tweeted. He said, when I read the same letter as Senator Warren, no one prevented me from speaking. Senator McConnell owes Senator Warren an apology, #LetLizSpeak. Do you agree with him? Does Senator McConnell owe you an apology?
You know, look, I think that this is up to Senator McConnell. He's the one who shut me up, and I am not allowed to speak on the floor of the United States Senate until after the vote on Jeff Sessions. Ultimately, what this should all be about is trying to get everybody, and I mean everybody, to read Coretta Scott King's letter. It is a powerful letter. I've posted it on Facebook. I've tweeted it. Get out there and read the letter. And it's not just people all across this country. It's Republicans right here in the United States Senate. Read that letter before the vote on Jeff Sessions.
And Senator, before I let you go, just one final question. I'm told that after you were reprimanded at first, some of your colleagues quietly came to you and asked you to retract your words, to try to sort of remedy the fact that you were told that you broke Rule 19 of the Senate rules, and you talked ill of a colleague, and that you said, no, I want to go back out there and I want to keep doing that. Is that true? And if so, why did you do that?
Well, I didn't. I was giving my speech, and nobody spoke to me while I was giving my speech. Mitch McConnell then shut me down. I appealed the ruling of the chair, and that is a vote. And we went to a vote. That's what happened.